that front. So there's something called the discharge petition that's been in the works here in the House. There are several discharge petitions, but there was one that was supported by Democratic leadership. It's a 3-year extension of these expiring Obamacare tax credits that run out at the end of December, and when they do, they'll cause premiums for some 20 million Americans to skyrocket. Well, 4 moderate Republicans just within the last few moments signed on to that Democratic-backed discharge petition, a Republican mutiny in a sense on this health care issue. It now has the number of signatures it needs, which guarantees this 3-year extension of Obamacare tax credits a vote on the House floor. It's symbolic, it's significant, because House Republican leadership, chief among them Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, had been pushing back on a vote on this, saying they wanted Democrats to agree to reforms first. It doesn't necessarily mean these tax credits will ultimately be extended, because this is something the Senate already took up. They already voted on a 3-year extension, and it went down in flames in the Senate some days back. But it is significant that you've got 4 moderate Republicans breaking with party leadership at this hour, signing on to this petition that was written by and put forward by Democratic leaders, chief among them the top Democrat in the House, Hakeem Jeffries. And it's because moderate Republicans for the last few days have been expressing some serious anxiety over the expiration of these tax credits. I want to show you what one of them, Kevin Kiley, Republican of California, told me yesterday. Is it a mistake for Congress to leave town without addressing these ACA tax credits?
Of course it is. Yeah, you have people who are going to be paying thousands of dollars more at the start of the year if Congress doesn't act.
Whose fault is that at the end of the day?
Congress. All of us. We have bipartisan issues right now.
So, look, I mentioned that discharge petition. It means that legislation, now that it has the required number of signatures it needs, is going to get a vote. But that likely won't come until January. And again, it doesn't guarantee that this legislation would pass out of the House. And even if it did, something similar to this effect already failed on the floor in the Senate. But it does show that you've got moderate Republicans at this hour willing to break with party leadership on the critical issue of these Obamacare subsidies, Diane.
So what would it mean for the millions of Americans who get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act if Congress lets these subsidies expire?
Well, right now, Congress is on track to let them expire. They run out at the end of the month, and Congress is going to leave town on Friday. And right now, it doesn't look like there's any legislative fix in the works that's going to address this issue by then. When they run out come January 1st, it means that premiums on average for Americans who get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act, again, more than 20 million, are expected to double. They could even triple or quadruple in some cases based upon the Obamacare recipients that we've talked to. And one of the things that moderate Republicans have been pointing out over the course of this is that they are concerned about the impact this is going to have on Americans across the country, but on their voters in particular. There was one study that shows that 3 in every 4 Obamacare enrollees, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, live in states that President Trump won in 2024. So moderate Republicans have been saying, look, it's a mistake, in their words, to leave town at the end of this week without addressing this issue. Congress looks poised to leave town at the end of this week without addressing this issue. But now that this petition has the number of signatures it needs, as we were just talking about, it looks like there is going to be some form of a vote on these Obamacare subsidies come the new year.
Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill for us. Thank you.
Nick Reiner could face the death penalty after Los Angeles officials charged him with murdering his parents, director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. New surveillance video shows a 32-year-old being arrested at a gas station. Prosecutors say the charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole or the death penalty. Sources tell CBS News the Reiners attended a Christmas party Saturday night where the father and son argued. The parents were later found with stab wounds. Nick Reiner is in jail without bond, waiting for his first court appearance.
News out of Hollywood this morning. The hostile takeover bid by Paramount Skydance rejected by Warner Brothers. The company is advising shareholders that the rival bid by Netflix will be better for customers and should not accept a bid from Paramount Skydance. Paramount's offering $30 million per, or $30 per Warner share to Netflix's $27.75. However, insiders say the Paramount deal is not completely off the table until a vote is held. Paramount Skydance is the parent company of CBS News.
Well, this is developing overnight. This escalating standoff here. President Trump says Venezuela is surrounded by the largest armada in South American history. This is the military buildup in the Caribbean we've been talking about, and the president has been talking about a lot with these warships, drones, and tens of thousands of troops. The president now designated Venezuela as a terrorist organization and ordering a blockade of tankers carrying sanctioned oil as he continues to threaten land strikes any day now. News Nation's Libby Dean has more for us from the White House. And Libby, good morning to you. What comes next for Venezuela?
Well, good morning, Anna. President Trump says that armada will only get bigger until Venezuela returns oil, land, and all other assets he claims belong to the United States. Now, the president making this announcement on Truth Social designated the Venezuelan regime as a foreign terrorist organization. A big move there in ordering a complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers. Now, oil is Venezuela's top export, and in a statement, President Nicolas Maduro's government accused the Trump administration of violating international law and free trade, as well as trying to steal their wealth. Now, the news comes following these series of strikes against alleged Venezuelan drug boats. Some lawmakers that we've heard from both sides of the aisle raising these questions and concerns about whether these strikes will lead to war between the U.S. and Venezuela. Now, as for the War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, he says he won't release the video of that second strike on an alleged drug boat to the public, which some say may have violated that international law there. Now, that comes after we know Congress was briefed on that operation in the Caribbean on Tuesday, and all of that happening behind closed doors.
President Trump is standing by his White House chief of staff after a series of striking interviews with Vanity Fair. Susie Wiles providing a rare window into the West Wing, describing the president as having an alcoholic's personality, saying Trump, who does not drink, operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing, zero, nothing. Then going on to label Vice President J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist for a decade, describing his transformation from Trump critic to supporter as sort of political. Vance brushing it off.
Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true.
And this morning, the president dismissing the comments, too. In an interview with the New York Post saying, "I don't drink alcohol, so everybody knows that. But I've often said that if I did, I'd have a very good chance of being an alcoholic. I've said that many times about myself, I do. It's a very possessive personality." But Wiles also comments on the president's cabinet, criticizing Attorney General Pam Bondi, saying she completely whiffed the Justice Department's response to the onslaught of demands calling for the release of files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Wiles telling Vanity Fair she read the Epstein file and that Trump is in it, but she says not doing anything awful. Wiles said that Trump was on Epstein's plane. He's on the manifest, saying they were, sort of young single whatever. I know it's a passé word, but sort of young single playboys together. As the controversy surrounding Epstein swirled for months, President Trump has fought efforts to release the Epstein files and ordered the Justice Department to investigate Epstein's relationship with Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton.
I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
But Wiles says there is no evidence Clinton ever visited Epstein's private island and that the president was wrong when he suggested the files include incriminating information on Clinton. The president has publicly pressured his own attorney general to prosecute his perceived political rivals, like former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. Prosecutions rejected by a judge and grand juries. Wiles says, "I don't think he wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he will go for it."
In response to the interview, President Trump also says that Susie Wiles has done a fantastic job. Wiles herself calls this reporting in these articles from Vanity Fair disingenuous, saying that it's a framed hit piece. But she does not dispute any of her quotes, and Vanity Fair says they're all on the record and they are all recorded, Michael.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, we did some things with the mic. Hopefully, it sounds a little bit better today. We're going to keep testing as we go forward. If you guys think this sounds better than it did yesterday, then let me know, because we keep tweaking it. So today I got a whole bunch for you, and it's going to be a long, long day. First, we've got this day show, and I've got some news to show you. And then tonight is the big event. We're going to have the, what do you call it? Address to the nation. I call it my fellow Americans address, because I think that's going to be absolutely huge tonight. I may be disappointed, but I think we have something coming. I really do think we have something coming. That being said, today I just want to let you know, I hope you like that little start, doing some new stuff to get people acclimated, wait till everybody gets in here. Then we'll go ahead and run the intro. And then throughout the show, if I need a break or something, I may turn on some news just to, just to have a break in between. But today is a little bit different of an event. We're going to be doing something, in case you guys don't know, it's called a dignified transfer. And a dignified transfer is a very somber event. There may be no words. It may simply be just President Trump and Melania standing in formation and saluting. And what they will be saluting are the caskets of dead soldiers. So we've got two people coming, I think 2 or 3 people coming from Syria, who were killed last week or so. And basically the president and certain people in the military, I would not at all be surprised if Pete Hegseth is there, but I know for sure that President Trump's going to be there. Melania is going to be there. And I'm probably sure somebody like General Kane might be there as well, but they're there to receive the caskets that will be adorned with the American flag. And it's like I said, not expecting any words. I'd be surprised if he even said anything. I think you're just going to see the president in a dignified way, dignified transfer, welcoming these soldiers home. It'll probably be 15, 20 minutes, probably very short, because of, the nature of what it is. I'm sure you'll see some family members, things of that nature. So I just wanted to get you acclimated to what you might see coming up. And don't think it's going to be a big flaming speech, because it won't be that. It won't be that at all. And like I said, I think he'll just go ahead and bring the people in. That being said, I got a bunch of news for you. As always, go ahead and I start preparing for the show, and I've got some stuff I want to show you, and then something unannounced pops up. And so here's what popped up today. I always say his name wrong. Scott Bessent, Secretary of the Treasury, made a speech today, but it wasn't necessarily a speech as more of a announcement, an introduction. He announced today the new Trump accounts page. And in the Trump accounts page, as you know, you can put money into an account, and when the baby gets older, they're going to be able to get paid out a handsome sum of money when they turn 18, 20, 21. So I've got that for you. President Trump, just before I signed on, I was watching. He just took off from Washington, D.C. He's only going to Dover, which is right up the road. So it's probably, with his plane and clearance, probably take him 15 or 20 minutes. So we may see him pop up in the next 10 or 15 minutes, because it's just a hop, skip, and a jump from Washington, D.C. or Landover into Delaware. So it'll be pretty quick. And also got to wait for the big plane to land that's bringing over the bodies as well. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and I want you to hear what Scott Bessent said today, because for some of you guys that are parents, some of you that are grandparents, you may have a strong interest in how he laid this out. And then there's a Q&A session as well with Katie Britt from Alabama, and also Mike Johnson speaks. And then at the end, they have a press conference where people are asking him about these Trump accounts. So to me personally, with grandchildren, it did pique my interest to see how this stuff is going to work. And you'll be able to hear what Scott Bessent says. And as soon as President Trump is ready, I will obviously click the button and we will show that, because we do a lot of things, and one of those things is we have to welcome home our fallen soldiers. All right, so let's listen to a little bit to Scott Bessent, and then we'll cut to the event when it happens.
Good morning, everyone. It's an exciting day. I think that I am here to announce the biggest merger in history, merger of Main Street and Wall Street. So thank you. I'm grateful to be with you all. An entire generation of Americans is about to learn in the most life-changing way possible how even small contributions can become generational wealth. And it's all thanks to President Trump. Trump accounts are the president's gift to the American people. They represent perhaps the most groundbreaking policy innovation of modern times, and they are shaped by a simple vision: every American a shareholder. When every American owns a share of the most powerful economy on earth, every American will benefit from our nation's growth. Every American will capture a portion of the productivity gains brought about by AI, robotics, and other world-changing technologies. And every American will be invested in the free market system and, most importantly, its continued success. Trump accounts are not a government program. They are a radically new platform that returns us to a social contract anchored in individual ownership, where everyone starts life on an investing journey. By giving each newborn citizen a material stake in the American dream through Trump accounts, President Trump is minting future investors on every rung of the economic ladder. He is embedding financial literacy and empowering today's youth to shape their own financial future. And he is creating an ownership economy to secure the American experiment for a new generation and the next 250 years. This morning, I will explain how the President is advancing these goals and how you can help. We are the most giving country in the history of the world, but we have long lacked a platform of private ownership from birth that facilitated philanthropy to do at scale direct giving to American children. Not anymore. Through Trump accounts, our president is creating an ownership economy where all citizens become shareholders in America's wealth. Today, 38% of American adults do not own stocks. But with Trump accounts, over time, we can get that number to zero. I've talked in the past about the importance of promoting parallel prosperity, an era of economic expansion where Wall Street and Main Street grow together. But the beauty of Trump accounts is that prosperity no longer runs parallel, it fuses together. The biggest merger in history. Under Trump accounts, Wall Street's success becomes Main Street's success and vice versa. In addition to giving America's youth a crash course in capitalism and an economic leg up, Trump accounts will instill financial literacy in America's youth in a way no book, test, or school curriculum could. They will do so by providing students with a hands-on education in the power of compound growth. Treasury is wholly committed to promoting financial responsibility in the next generation through its Financial Literacy and Education Commission. Trump accounts embody the elegant alchemy of the Golden Age. They turn compound growth into American greatness, and they share that greatness evenly across every cohort of newborn citizens. There are 4 ways Trump accounts will be funded. First, through an initial $1,000 seed from the government. Second, through the donations of parents, friends, and employers. Third, through the generous donations of wealthy Americans and philanthropic organizations. And fourth, through donations from state governments. Let's start with the government seed. Thanks to President Trump, eligible children born between January 1, 2025 and December 31, 2028 will receive a $1,000 contribution from the Treasury Department that will immediately be invested in an index fund. To claim this investment, most families need merely check a box on Form 4547, the most aptly named tax document of all time. The compound growth from Treasury's initial seed funding alone stands to make young Americans wealthy. The S&P has grown at a rate of 10.5% each year on average since the 1950s. Assuming that growth rate continues, a single $1,000 deposit into a Trump account at birth will grow to over $600,000 by the age of retirement. Our president is putting the American dream within reach of every citizen, no matter the circumstances of birth. When young Americans turn 28, they can use their Trump accounts to keep saving for their retirement, or they can use them to purchase a home or further their education, 2 hallmarks of the American dream. Trump accounts will benefit from the compound growth of Treasury's initial seed funding, but they can also benefit from outside donations. Starting on July 4th, our nation's 250th anniversary, parents, family members, employers, and friends will be able to contribute up to $5,000 to each Trump account each year. By contributing the maximum amount each year, the Council of Economic Advisors estimates that a child's Trump account would be worth more than $1 million by the time they turn 28. We foresee a day when employers offer matching contributions to Trump accounts in the same way they offer matching contributions to retirement accounts. And we foresee a day when parents contribute to their children's Trump accounts in the same way they would contribute to their 529 account. Keep in mind that parents can create Trump accounts for any child under 18, not just those born between 2025 and 28. The third way of funding Trump accounts is through the generous donation of philanthropists and charitable organizations. Susan and Michael Dell have led the way by pledging to donate $6.25 billion of their own money to help fund Trump accounts for 25 million children under the age of 10. To put this number in perspective, the Dells made the single largest private commitment to U.S. children in our nation's history. Their donation provides an additional $250 in funding to Trump accounts for children across the country. The Dells donation was the starting sound in a national race to top out Trump accounts for the next generation. And this morning, I'm delighted to announce the first entrance into that race, world-renowned investor Ray Dalio. Ray has joined what we are calling the 50-State Challenge. The 50-State Challenge is a special initiative Treasury is launching today to rally the nation's philanthropists around a common cause. Through the 50-State Challenge, we are inviting every philanthropist in every state across the country to partner with us in building generational wealth for America's children through Trump accounts. Ray is representing Connecticut in the 50-State Challenge. Today, he will announce a generous contribution to boost funding for Trump accounts for kids across Connecticut. Ray has made the first move, but we welcome other donors and foundations in Connecticut and across the country to join him in the 50-State Challenge.
All right, so I just want to jump in there because he said a whole lot in about 6 minutes there, a whole lot. And one of the things that he said, well, a couple of things that he said that people did know before that you do know now. Obviously, the parents can contribute, but grandparents and others can contribute up to $5,000 per child. And then they get, as he just said, about $1 million when they turn 28. So basically what this is going to do is eliminate the need for Social Security. And I know that may shock some people, but just imagine being able to not have to worry about Social Security as you get old. Imagine if right now your parents had done this when you were a young tyke and, you know, you'd be sitting on $1 million or more. And I love what they're doing. They're allowing companies and philanthropists to also put money in. So the incentive at this point is to allow people to invest in America's future. And as I sit here and listen to this, I'm wondering, how could the Democrats possibly remotely have a problem with this? I would love to, you know, basically poll people here. Could you possibly see anything negative about this? I don't.
The president is calling on our nation's business leaders and philanthropic organizations to help us make America great again by securing the financial future of America's children. Given the amazing level of interest and the generous donations we've seen so far, I am confident we will see many more donations, contributions pouring in. The fourth way of funding Trump accounts is through state governments. The administration has been working closely with a number of governors to determine the best way states can work with the federal government to expand access to Trump accounts to as many children as possible. Thus far, 20 states are considering topping up the accounts. State involvement can take many different forms. States can, for example, tie top-ups of Trump accounts to completion of financial literacy courses, or they can contribute directly to Trump accounts at birth. States are the laboratories of our democracy, and their experiments with Trump accounts will surface the best methods for funding over time. Trump accounts will not only restore the American dream for the next generation, they will make it more accessible than ever before. Together, we can usher in the president's golden age by building the most affordable, prosperous, and opportunity-rich America in our nation's history. I look forward to working with all of you to secure American prosperity through Trump accounts. Thank you.
I love the comment on the screen right now. No one with a brain could possibly be against this. And as I'm looking and perusing some of the things in the chat, I'm seeing people like, how do you, just think about it. People are saying, how do you trust the government that they're going to do it? You mean like Social Security, where you work all your life for 20 to 30 years and pick up a couple grand a month? You mean like that? There is no downside here. There is absolutely no downside whatsoever. You know why there's no downside? Because the kid, the actual individual who is going to be the recipient, the person who's the benefactor of this, it's not costing them anything. While your son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter are sitting there pooping their diapers, they're making money. There is no downside for them. They can continue to live their lives as they grow any way they want. All they're going to be seeing is that, when you turn a certain age, there's a pot of gold there, and it didn't have anything to do with you. So there can't be any downside. And if the Democrats say something like, well, it doesn't help the poor people. Well, maybe if you didn't spend money on Air Jordans, or maybe if you didn't have hair extensions, or maybe if you didn't have fake eyelashes, or maybe if you and made your child a priority, you could benefit from this. I have no patience for somebody who says this isn't for poor people. To me, it's especially important to poor people, because you want to make sure it's not generational poor, you guys just keep being poor. Imagine that. You can look at this baby that you probably have on welfare, that you're probably getting food stamps for, and you can say, you know what? I am going to end this cycle forever. By the time you grow up, by the time you're able to walk around, by the time you're able to basically poop on your own and clean your own butt, you're going to be making money. How can that possibly be wrong?
And now it's my great honor to introduce Speaker Mike Johnson, whom, without the Trump accounts would not have been without Speaker Johnson's hard work on the one big, beautiful bill, getting it passed record time on July 4th, the Trump accounts would not be possible. I remember when Speaker Johnson told me in April, he said, I think I can have the bill out of the House by Memorial Day. I said, really? And he did it. And which gave us a lot of momentum. Leader Thune got it across the finish line on July 4th. And again, the bill is big, it is beautiful, but one of the most transformative pieces in this legislation, they are the Trump accounts. So I will welcome Speaker Johnson. And again, Mike, thank you for your leadership on this.
Thank you. What an exciting day this is. It's so great to see you all here at Treasury with our extraordinary Secretary. Scott Bessent is a godsend to America. Can I get a round of applause for our Treasury Secretary? Yes. President Trump will have a lot of extraordinary legacy items that history will record, but one of the best choices early on was selecting this gentleman to serve in this position. And he's put together an extraordinary team, and the truth be told, we would not have gotten the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, done as we did without his steady hand of leadership. Anyone who had a question, I drug him over here to Treasury and made him sit through a little class with the Treasury Secretary, and he helped get them to yes. So that's something history will record as well. We are so excited about this because America needs this. It's an idea that is long overdue. People have been struggling. You know, we inherited when President Trump came in and this Republican Congress took over in January with the new administration, we inherited a real mess. We had 4 years of Bidenomics, and we all know what that did to people's pocketbooks, to their outlook on the economy, and to their real experience in having to suffer through record high levels of inflation, lower wages, and less opportunity. So when we took the reins of power, we were determined to fix all of that. We had to fix virtually every area of public policy, and we got to work on it. And the result was that big, beautiful bill, aptly named by the president, also known as the Working Families Tax Cut, because that's what we achieved. We got real economic relief on the way for the American people. Largest tax cut in U.S. history. Largest savings of taxpayers' dollars at the same time, by the way. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, real relief for seniors on Social Security, all the other big benefits in the bill. But among all those features, one that I think will have a lasting effect, a truly lasting effect on the economy and the financial stability of individuals in our country at large, is the Trump account. And what we're here to explain, and what the Secretary just laid out, is an extraordinary transformational policy. It is truly going to change the lives of every American. And we wrote the big, beautiful bill. It was geared for lower and middle class earners to give relief to hardworking families. And this is one of the primary drivers of that. Now, I'm not going to give you a long speech. I could, because I'm really excited about this and what it's going to do for our families, for the economy. But one thing I really like, I think it's almost poetic, is that the implementation date happens to fall on July 5th of next year, right after our nation's 250th birthday. As the Secretary noted, the greatest nation in the history of the world, the most benevolent nation in the history of the world, the most successful, most free, most powerful. And there's a reason for that. I'll just leave you with that thought. America is built on these foundational principles. And among them is the idea of the free market, of individual financial stewardship and responsibility, the idea of capitalism, that everybody gets a shot. If you work hard and you play by the rules and you do your best, you can get to the next rung on that economic ladder. And now with this, there's a bit of a turbo boost to that idea. And while we've always believed in private property ownership, private ownership, as the Secretary noted, now there is a platform, a new platform for private ownership. What an extraordinary concept. And what a big thing to celebrate as we celebrate our nation's supercentennial, as the President calls it, next year. The idea that these principles and these foundational premises that make our great nation will flourish in a whole new way. So we're so excited to be a small part of that. We're so excited for the exceptional leadership, for the vision of President Trump to do this. I can't wait to tell everybody about Form 4547. If we could only put an exclamation point at the end of the form number, that would be even perfect. This is big stuff for a big, incredible country. So grateful to be a small part of it. Thank you all so much for being here. God bless.
Can you talk about why Trump accounts were so important to you to get into that bill?
Yeah, look, this is transformational. You think about being a young parent, right? And so many of us remember being in the hospital and having this beautiful baby that you're like, you're going to send this child home with me in about 24 hours. And you start to think of all that you want to provide for your child. And the immediate things you think about are what's right in front of you, diapers and the right car seat for safety and how are you going to make all of this work? But ultimately what you want for your child, for every child, is a chance at the American dream. And look, after the last 4 years of the previous administration, I think all of us, it felt heavy. With inflation and just the cost of life in general, many people felt like that dream was out of reach. And the incredible thing about the Working Families Tax Cut is that President Trump said, no, we're going to make good on the promises we made to the American people. We are going to see these parents and help them provide that opportunity. And we want the next generation to be better off as a result of our leadership. And I think there is no more evidence, greater evidence of that than these accounts. And when we're looking at America and the fact that we are that shining city on the hill, everybody wants to be a part of that. And we know that about 60% of Americans are invested in markets, but we know 40% are not. And the thing that President Trump and the secretary have made such a priority is how do we make sure that that 40% has the same chances that the 60 do? How do we close the gap between the have and the have-nots? How do we create a pathway for these kids, maybe in an underserved community or have not previously had access, to have the ability to achieve that American dream? And that's what this does. And we are going to look back on this moment and see that it not only changed our nation and how we work together, from government to companies to philanthropists, but it is truly going to change lives. And when we see these stories unfold, even in a few years for kids that are under 18, but ultimately these children that are born during President Trump's administration and have this seed money of $1,000 and what it does for them, whether it's home ownership or education or other opportunities, it is going to be remarkable, and it's going to be the envy of the world.
What do you think the impact will be at age 18 for a child who's born during this administration, 18 years from now? Like, what do you imagine the impact might be?
Oh, tremendous. I mean, I think, so I have two children, 15 and 16, and you rest assured that my husband and I are going to go ahead and set one up as soon as possible. And you think about just the growth that can occur at 18 or 28 or, what could ultimately happen. But
Okay, I want to interrupt because she just said something that some people in the chat didn't understand. Obviously, she just said her children are 15 and 16, which, you don't have to be a mathematical genius, but that is before 2025. And so people before 2025 can indeed benefit from this as well. So maybe you rewind and hear as Scott Bessent went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of all the different ways people could benefit from this, but you do not have to be born 2025 to 2028. She just said it herself. My kids are 15 and 16, and I can't wait to open accounts for them as well. So if you've got grandkids, and they're in that age group, whatever it is, like she said, 15, 16 or younger, there's no way you could avoid this. There's no way. I understand you may not have the funds to make the deposit, but if you can, what a better way to do it. What a better way to get your kids set up. It's incredible.
You think about a child that is born right now that is going to allow this to grow. And I believe that what we've seen from the Dells and what we have seen from companies already stepped up, that is just the beginning. President Trump and the Secretary have an opportunity to just inspire in a way that we've not seen any other leader be able to do. So I believe that will be compounded tremendously. And I think ultimately, you've seen the American dream slip away. Like, one example is home ownership. And you heard the Secretary talk about that earlier. So previously, people could buy their first home between 25, 26, 27 on average. Now we're looking at, 38 and beyond. What this will be able to do for a down payment or an educational opportunity or skills training is going to change the game. And listen, I want to thank you. I have a question for you. So as a parent, number one, I told you when I saw those little feet up there, that just took me back in time. And I also thought, how am I going to do all of these things? And then how do you know what to do and when to do it? You have been transformative with bringing products to market, and you have found a way to target the information that is needed in a way that people like me can receive it. Because I'll be honest with you, I am that parent that has to get my kids to help me figure out what to do online quite a bit. And so talk to me about being the head of the National Design Studio and how this project, kind of the framing that you took into account for this project to help parents like me be able to navigate this and actually be able to access it.
Well, thank you for that question. I think this is such an important initiative, and to make it sure it gets the widest adoption possible, as a designer, you want to just make things as simple as possible. Whether that's the messaging, whether that's the interface or the usability of something. If you want to increase conversion rate, make it simple. And so, my company was really built around that. How do we apply great design to helping somebody take a great vacation, take a trip somewhere, connect with that accommodation? And so this is really bringing those same principles here. How do we have really clear communication, really clear, crisp messaging so that the American at any socioeconomic level can understand how this fits into their life and how it benefits them.
Yeah, and I would imagine that, as a new mom or dad in the hospital, or, bringing your child home, that we're going to find ways to make sure that this is front and center, that they are educated about this and can explore and also know 4547, what to check when they're doing their taxes as well. And I'm sure that just making it easy to navigate has been a top priority of yours.
That's right. I think, and this is really, as a consumer of government products, as an American, there's so much more we could be doing to tell the story about.
I just wanted to jump in because President Trump has just arrived in Dover. We'll be coming back to this, but the ceremony hasn't begun, but you can see he is on the ground in Dover, Delaware, meeting with some of the, obviously, military personnel. But the ceremony has not begun, and as soon as it begins, we will go to and Pete Hegseth is there, as I thought he might be. So as soon as he starts up with the actual ceremony, I see the big plane back there that may have the caskets. So we'll cut to that as soon as possible.
Great efforts of the government, of the administration, of these kinds of initiatives to really resonate and connect with American people. And so this is really the mandate from the president to the National Design Studio.
Well, and I think that's what makes this administration so different, is we know that you are the expert in how to deliver that. We've seen the success of that, and now we're allowing your talents and vision to be executed in a way that everyday Americans, that moms and dads out there that are thinking about the future of their child are able to take advantage of it. So thank you for what you're doing on this. I think back to a time when my grandfather in the early 90s gave us a stock at Christmas. And so here we were, and my grandfather is a small business owner. He had a hardware store that was my great-grandfather's that had been passed down, and he and my father were building a boat dealership together. And so as a small business owner in a more rural part of the state, in a small town, you kind of sort of think that markets are out of reach for you. When we opened that up, every grandchild, and we finally had ownership in something that was bigger than ourselves, and we would watch it every single year. When we're thinking about these accounts, Joe, this is about access, this is about education, and this is about opportunity. And with one delivery of this, you give a child all of those things. I know for me, it created an interest in that in a way that I would not have had otherwise. It also a pride of ownership. And so you think about parents all across the country that are going to be looking at these accounts and thinking, what can my child do with this? How is this going to help them achieve? And then the educational process that comes with that access and the ultimate opportunity is going to change lives forever.
That's right. I mean, as a policymaker, you've been at the tip of the spear on these issues, whether it's about being part of the pro-family party. Can you speak more about those initiatives or other things that you're involved in?
Yeah, look, there is no doubt that under President Trump's leadership, the Republican Party has become the party of families. We have become the party of parents. We've become the party of hard-working Americans. And so to get to be a part of delivering on that has really been incredible. The Working Families Tax Cuts, as mentioned by the speaker, have so many things in here for hardworking Americans and people, allowing them to keep more of their hard-earned dollars, making sure that dollar goes further, and creating opportunity like we're talking about today. One of the other things that I was proud to lead the effort in the Working Families Tax Cut was actually addressing the affordability and accessibility of childcare. So it doesn't matter if you're talking to our largest manufacturers or our smallest business on a main street in a community in Alabama. They tell you being able to recruit and retain a workforce is one of the things that they deal with with. And one of the issues that they have with that is affordability and accessibility of childcare. We know that there are a lot of people that want to re-engage in the workforce. And if you want to do that, I want you to have that opportunity to help us as we build back America. And we want to make sure that that impediment, we want people to be able to have more children and do more things, that an impediment of affordability or accessibility, that we help knock that down. And so in this, the tax code was actually updated for the first time since 1986 when it came to decap. So when Ronald Reagan was the president. So went from 5,000 to 7,500 that parents will be able to have there. And then we updated the CDCTC for the first time since 2001. So an additional $900 for people who utilize that. All of this is real money for parents who are trying to create this pathway for their children. And then we also created an additional 45F, an additional dollars there, move that to $500,000, really creating an opportunity for businesses to be a part of this solution. We know that just like in line with the Trump accounts, it's going to take everybody doing everything. So whether that's a voucher program or an on-site facility, and then also small businesses for the first time can take part in that as well. So this is transformative because we've heard people talk about affordability of childcare for years. President Trump at this administration and the Republican Senate and House actually did something about it. So we're excited for people to actually get to make use of that as well. A lot of good things coming.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning.
So before they take the questions, just want to update you. President Trump landed, as you saw, got into the limo, the Beast, and you're taking him over to the ceremony area. Excuse me. So I can't help but sometimes glance over at the chat. And I see some people still are having an issue with this, and I don't understand. Is there any way we can, as a group, make it clearer to people how good this is, how much of a amazing program, not just because I'm a Trump supporter, but because I understand finance, I understand compound interest, I understand, as somebody gets older, being able to have a nest egg for themselves. Unfortunately, nobody did it while we were growing up, unless it was your own parents. Nothing we can do about that right now. So you have to get that out of your head and say, I didn't have this available to me. What about me? Well, at this point, it is no longer about us. It is about the future of the country and understanding that people who are turning 25, 20, 28, who are want to start a family, maybe want to buy a house. They can't right now. And so I don't think there's much of a fix available to people today. I know people complain and they bitch and moan about affordable, I can't buy a house. Well, the only way that's going to happen, and we'll cover some of that as we go further today, is if you make yourself more marketable. If you make yourself more a higher income level that you can get to. But at minimum, though, we shouldn't be having an issue with this for children moving forward. I can't think of a single negative, and the negatives that I do see, I mean, one guy, I heard SV say it made him throw up on his screen, the Ebonics guy that he had to kick to the curb. I couldn't even understand what he was saying. He was saying, you guys are all rich or something. Like, I hate when people say that. I hate when people say, you guys all have money, other than a lottery ticket or yourself. That's it. Come on. All right, so we're back. This is Barry. I'm live again. Oh, man. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does that. But what I was saying is there's no magic pill. There's no magic potion. You can't dial a number and have somebody come and give you prosperity other than with a lottery ticket. You got to do it yourself. And so stop worrying about how kids are going to be taken care of. That this should take a burden off of some people's shoulders. Imagine starting a family. You're wondering, how am I going to provide for these kids? How am I going to help them launch their own business? Because I'm not going to say college. How am I going to help them launch their own business when they get older? Well, I'm going to put it in this account. But in terms of what you do right now, it's all on your shoulders, and you have to worry about you. You got to do you. There's nobody coming. You can't ring a bell and somebody's going to show up. And so when people say, oh, you guys are all rich, you guys are, no, you know, people had to work for whatever they have. Whatever that number is, people have worked for themselves. And I can't stand when I look on X and people are saying the boomers ruined this and the boomers ruined that. And it's all crap. It's all crap. Never do these people say, can you show me something? Show me how I can get out of this problem. And what I was getting into before we started buffering was that I told you every end of the year, I used to get on a train in Connecticut and take that train all the way down to Washington and then turn around and come all the way back and just fill up a notepad as I was looking out the window into what I was going to do to change next year. And I showed you the song that I used to play, which was from Styx, and it's Man in the Wilderness, and it says, another year has passed me by. All I'm going to do is sit here and cry. What kind of man have I become? Because you got to look in the mirror. You have to make the change. You know how people always talk about New Year's resolutions, and it's always about I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna get stronger, I'm gonna be a better husband. All this intangible BS. Start putting right now, if you want to do something in 2026, start putting tangible things in place that you can do. An actual roadmap. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. It may start with something very simple. I hate having the microphone this close. It may be very simple. It's like, hey, you know what? On January 1st, I am going to buy an ounce of silver. On January 13th, 2 weeks later, I'm going to buy another ounce of silver. And then February 1st, I'm going to buy 5 ounces of silver. And then by the time December 2026 comes along, you may have 100 ounces of silver. And you'll sit back and wait a minute. Did I just invest? Did I just make money? Did I just learn how to be prosperous? Of which all the answers to those questions is yes. And I did this when I started last year, and I told you guys, let me see if I can bring it up. And when I was telling you guys last year about silver and gold, and here we are now, a year later, and gold is 43.68. It's up almost 1% today. But if you click this button and go year to date, just since January of this year, I want to show you if you start making a plan today, and stay with that plan the entirety of 2026. Look what happened over a period of since January of this year. Year to date, 63%, almost 64% with gold. And if you look at silver, same thing. Silver today, whew, man, 66.68 today. Let's go back into the time warp here. Let's do the time warp with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And year to date, 122%. For those of you who are math challenged, that means you would have doubled your money. If you would put in $1,000 on January 1st, you'd be sitting on $2,000 today. It all starts, though, with that first step. It all starts with that first thing that you say to yourself, and that first thing is, I got to do it. January 1st, my resolution is to do X. Only you can define what that is, but then you got to have the rest of the program as well.
We wanted to provide some of the reporters in the room with an opportunity to ask some questions. As you can see, we've brought up the full team to explain the intricacies of the rollout today and Trump accounts. So first, Nick Gilbertson with Breitbart. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, a question for you. Can you explain the importance of fostering financial literacy among the next generation of America?
Yes, financial literacy has long been one of my passions, dating back for more than a decade when I was in the private sector. And I believe, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, in Little River, South Carolina. We didn't know anything about Wall Street. We just knew something bad happened in 1929. And I think the idea of financial literacy, knowing how to manage your money, how to manage your finances, is something that's gotten lost to Americans, whether it's children, the 20-somethings, or even many adults. And I think that this is going to provide, as I said earlier, this live action, being able to check your account every day, is going to re-engage Americans in this. We're going to reach out. Many banks, as part of their Community Reinvestment Act educations, we're going to reach out to all the banks to give seminars. So I think that this really is going to be transformative for the American people, making them much better consumers of financial products and understanding how they can optimize their financial health.
Ed Lawrence with Fox Business.
Before he goes, anybody got a problem with that? Anybody have a problem with teaching financial literacy to young people? There's no way you could have a problem with that, because if people were taught at a young age financial literacy and allow them to make certain mistakes and learn from those mistakes and understand the simple definition of compound interest, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now. Just think about it. If people were taught, hey, maybe being a barista isn't going to be a lifetime position. You're not going to need a living wage. Every time I hear that, my skin crawls. Oh, we need to make sure people are giving a living wage. You mean keep them stupid and poor. That's specifically what you're saying. I don't want people to depend upon a living wage. I'd like them to learn the steps and necessary information to become self-sufficient, self-producing members of society. All the crap that they take in high school, all the stuff that they're taught in college that does nothing for them and makes them a burden on society, should be replaced with financial literacy. Prove me wrong. Go into any Starbucks and you see some crazy looking scarf wearing, blue haired, nose ring having person and saying, how long you been working here? Where are you going to be in 2026? And do you have a degree? Oh, what's it in? Social studies of Syria. Guess where you're going to be in 2026? Right here making somebody some damn coffee.
Thank you. And again, I think for you, Mr. Secretary, kids can access these accounts at 18 years old. Stop an inflation push 18 years from now, where kids just clean out the accounts and start spending. Also, if I could, economic poll numbers have been slipping for the president. What do you know that maybe Americans aren't seeing?
So, couple of things. I'm optimistic that many the 18-year-olds will roll them into retirement accounts. So that there will be that. And again, I would expect that a large amount of this could be used towards, as I said earlier, to begin the American dream. And
I'm going to have to stop Scott there. Scott, you blew that answer. I love Scott Besson, but he blew the answer. The gentleman stood up and asked him a question. Basically, how do you prevent these kids from, getting older and blowing the money? Well, the answer was the first thing that Scott said before. If you teach them financial literacy, then when they get the big chunk of money, they're not going to blow it. He already gave you the answer. The answer is they'll know what to do, idiot. They're not going to be some crazy kid. Oh, I got $900,000. Time me to go ahead and buy like 18 Porsches. Nope. They will know what to do. And the other part of it is, at that point, you would have been showing them the entire time that they've been growing up. So that, hey, listen, I've set you up so that when you turn 18, 19, or 20 years old, here's what you're going to get. But now my job is very simple. I need to teach you, Buffy, what you need to be getting ready for, what you need to do so that when you get this lump sum, that you have the idea of where to put your money. And I spend time with Buffy every single week, and I'm showing Buffy, did your math, your English, your history. Now let's talk about your financial literacy class. All right, Dad, Grandpa, what's a financial literacy? Because they're not going to know if you don't tell them. So of course they're going to blow it because they do know how to spend money. That's not the hard part. The hard part is your job. Your job is what needs to fill in the gap here. Don't just say, hey, listen, I put $5,000 into an account, and when Buffy turns 21, she's going to be sitting on $500,000, because then Buffy's not going to know what the hell to do with that money. That's where you as a parent, grandparent, great-grandparent have to sit Buffy down and tell her, this is what you're going to do here. This is how much you're going to make sure you put in taxes. This is what you're going to do to blah, 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 blah. You're going to buy some property. You're going to do some things. I'm going to teach you about leverage. Leverage? What's leverage? Oh, another thing they don't teach about in college. How do you use leverage to your best ability for profitability? How many people even know how to use leverage? Where do you learn how to use leverage? Leverage is not a bad thing. See, because most people think leverage, they think debt. When I hear leverage, I'm thinking of Archimedes and a big giant lever that I'm using to move some financial boulder. That's on you as a parent, as a grandparent.
And it's going to be staggered. So it's going to be staggered, and it will be for a home purchase, for an auto purchase, for education. I don't think educational inflation can go any higher. I am very optimistic about 2026 as wearing my other hat as the acting IRS commissioner. I could see what has happened with President meeting his campaign promises and no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, deductibility of American-made autos. Because the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed on July 4th, it was retroactive to the beginning of the year, Americans have not changed their withholdings. So my estimate, and I do have inside information, that we could see between 100 and 150 billion of refunds going primarily to working families. Those families, those individuals will change their withholdings, so they'll actually get a bump up in their take-home pay.
All right, so I hope you understood what he just said. Two things. One, we're going to see a lot more money to people in 2026. But in order to make sure you're going to receive what you should be receiving, it's going to take some work on your part to make sure, whether you're working or whatever forms you filled out, that you're changing your withholding status. Again, some people might look, especially a kid, what's a withholding status? You got to teach people this stuff.
So we'll see both. We'll see substantial refunds, bumps up in the take-home pay. We've seen 15% CapEx growth this year. Historically, CapEx growth translates into job growth. And I think as I said, I think 2 days ago, we have spent 2025 setting the table, and now it's time for the banquet.
There. I loved when I heard that, because this is one of the things that the panicking pollsters and everybody else out there, no, nothing's happening. I don't know. I understand. We're going to get wiped out. We're going to get wiped out in 2026 midterms. And I see people like him smiling. That was just setting the table. Now you're getting ready to sit and eat. We're going to eat in 2026. And he said it with a smile. You're going to eat in 2026. We just set things up in 2025 and let everybody freak out. Wait till you see what happens in 2026. That's specifically what we've been saying, and that's specifically what the panicans have been ignoring.
Eleanor Mueller, Semaphore.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for having this event. There's been a lot of debate on the Hill this week over whether or not another reconciliation package is feasible for the Republican Party. Do you see a path forward this Congress? And if so, what would you prioritize for its inclusion?
Yeah, I think we're going to stick to the accounts today. Okay.
James Blady, Financial Times.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The president in late November said that he knew who his pick was for Fed chair, but since he has continued to interview other candidates, there has been some concern in financial markets and among investors about the credibility of Kevin Hassett, the front runner to do the job. Do you share those concerns, and is the president worried about that as well?
We're trying to keep this on Trump accounts. I think any concern on Director Hassett is absurd. He is an eminently qualified PhD economist with views of his own, and he, along with the others, would make a very good Fed chair. And maybe he was referring to maybe I was his pick, but I was unavailable.
Eamon Javers with CNBC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. On the Trump accounts, real quick, you mentioned Ray Dalio's contribution here. Do you have an estimated dollar amount for what that will amount to?
We don't yet. My guess, Ray and Barbara Dalio's, I think it'll be about $100 million for the state of Connecticut is my guess, but I haven't seen the exact numbers.
And if you guys, you know that Michael Dell from Dell Computers was the first one at that meeting to say how much he was giving in. If you don't know who Ray Dalio is, might be someone you might want to look up. You might want to take a look into Ray Dalio, because he's got also so much information that you could learn from him as well.
Tariffs, if I could. Obviously, some of your key tariffs this year are being challenged at the Supreme Court. Is the Treasury Department prepared to commit to American companies that have paid those tariffs this year that they will get refunds if Treasury loses at court?
Well, first of all, Eamon, it won't be Treasury losing, it will be the American people losing. And this is a national security issue, and I think we're going to wait and see. My guess is the Supreme Court ruling, whichever way it goes, will be extremely nuanced.
And Christian Daytalk.
Thank you, everyone, for doing this event. Christian Daytalk with the Washington Examiner. Just for your record, Mr. Secretary, Ray Dalio tweeted he will be contributing around $75 million. Going to go pumping for more money? Is that too low?
I read Bridgewater's having a good year, so.
And then on the accounts themselves, is the administration considering a push from Democratic lawmakers to expand the federal contribution specifically for families who won't be able to maximize their own annual contributions?
Well, I find it rich that Democratic lawmakers who had the trifecta never did this. So why don't they let us get them up and running? We got 4 years, and then we'll see where it goes.
We'll see where it goes. Yeah, they're already trying to tear this down for no reason. They have no reason to tear this down. I don't see anything being a negative about this. There's nothing, and I've looked at it from all different sides, and I'm thinking, if I want to put money into my grandson or granddaughter's accounts, it's my money. I'm not asking for the government. Number two, it's going to where I want it to go to. Number three, it's going to benefit them as they get older. What's the issue? The only issue the Democrats could possibly have is that they don't want you controlling where your money goes. They will do it for you. And then they'll say, of course, it doesn't help, the poor peoples, which doesn't really matter. You see, that's the part where I think a lot of people have to grasp is it doesn't matter if it doesn't help the poor people, because it's not the government putting the money in. I could see if this was a government program and the government was going to be doing all this. I understand $1,000 is going, but the $1,000 that the government is putting in is going to every child that's born. Not black, not white, not Hispanic. It goes to all of them. So that goes out the window. And yes, there are going to be some kids who benefit more than others because their parents, their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, whoever will be putting money into these children's accounts. So it's going to represent them a lot better, but it's not the government doing it. So I don't have a problem with that. So it is now 2:11. President Trump has not begun the ceremony yet. Let me just do a quick housekeeping. Tonight, as you know, it looks like I'll probably be going live at 8 o'clock or so, getting ready for the big speech. Can't wait for that. And then tonight, we're going to also give away another fishing trip person, so somebody can win, because the person who won the first time lives here, lives in the town outside of Fort Lauderdale. So I said, all right, let's bring on somebody else. We'll fly them down and put them in a hotel room, since the winner is here, so we can do a whole bunch of things in that regard. So actually, it's a lot more fun, because now it's somebody gonna get away from something in the winter, and they'll come down. Hopefully it won't be somebody like from, I don't know, Tampa. Hopefully it's somebody from Illinois or something that gets to come down and be outside of all that cold weather up there. But we're going to give away another trip tonight as well. And we'll be giving away some more silver tonight. So we're going to have a fishing trip giveaway. We're going to have silver giveaway. And then next week, I'm going to start giving away the hats. We got a whole case of hats over there, so we're going to start giving away hats to people as well. So a whole bunch of stuff coming up. I will be back in 90 seconds.
If you'd like to join our private group on X, go to fanfareshop.org/group and join 18,000 fellow patriots. It's a safe space for patriots, as it's curated and moderated. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/group. One more thing, if you'd like to be a part of the show, submit a 60-second video by going to fanfareshop.org/submit video. Last, but certainly not least, if you'd like to request a free Bible, please go to fanfareshop.org/Bible. We have a long list, but we're getting them out as soon as we can. Again, that's fanfareshop.org/Bible. Thanks for being a part of the Fanfare family. Now back to the show.
To Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right. So as of yet, President Trump hasn't come out. So let me get to my first story of my show here. I'm going to show you something that's going to make you just shake your head and go, I can't with these people. I just can't. So NBC ran an article, and it was another desperate race baiting smear. But this one, they're smearing him being a racist for who he pardons. I mean, I don't know how they don't go through any day without having some ability to call Trump or MAGA racist. And so now they have another fake news information. They're actually screaming because of the people he's pardoning. Did they do this with Obama? Did they do it with Clinton? Did they do it with Biden? And so now they're all pissed off because President Trump is pardoning too many white people. 85% of the people granted pardons or clemency this year by President Trump are white, according to a new report compiled by Miss Baldness herself, Ayanna Pressley, a vocal advocate for criminal justice reform. So she's mad that 85%, and I haven't verified her math, of Trump's pardons are going to white people, like it's some kind of gotcha. This is nothing but pure, ongoing Democrat race-baiting garbage. Trump's pardons reflect America's demographics, period. So let me just tell you, because I did the math myself. You ready for this? There are 14% of the legal United States population is black. Let me repeat that. The legal United States population, 14% of those people are black. He gave out 85% of the pardons to white people. And she didn't even count, Hispanics. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane that they're mad that 85% of his pardons went basically exactly in regards to the demographics of the country. There are 40, and remember this number because I got another story coming up about it, but there are 48 million black people legally in the United States. So, of course, just by using the math, most pardons will go to the majority group. It doesn't make any sense. Exit polls show Trump crushed it with black voters in 2024, doubling his share to around 20%. So obviously, he's doing something right. It's the highest black vote recipient for any Republican in decades. MAGA blacks, people like me, are waking up big time. It's record support because Trump delivers jobs, safety, and opportunity, not based upon your skin color, but because he's doing it for all Americans. I think I have the article. Yes, I do have the article here from NBC that was, I guess, was put together by Ayala. Let's take a look at this thing here. All right, so here's the article as they're trying to shame Trump. It says 85% of, let me make this smaller so you guys can see it, because you probably can't believe, you're like, are you serious? Did they really do an article complaining about how many black people were pardoned? Yep, here it is. 85% of people given federal pardons or clemency this year are white. House lawmaker says, and House lawmaker is Ayanna Pressley. Donald Trump's use of clemency and pardons has neglected many of the most marginalized and impacted communities. 85%, again, they stated, and January 6th defendants made up 90% of those who benefit, according to a new report compiled by Ayanna Pressley. So she threw in all of the information about the January 6th people, which those were conservatives. So if 20% of black people, following the math here, voted for President Trump, that means 80% of the people who got the pardons, or rather were at the January 6th riot, whatever you want to call it, were white. So of course it's going to be heavy-handed. It's simply math, but they're twisting it completely twisting this. Let me go here. 5% are Latino, and another 8% are black in terms of the people who are pardoned. Comparing these statistics against the makeup of the general federal prison population, Presley's report notes that a quarter of the population is white, 36% Hispanic, and 34% black. Donald Trump's use of clemency and pardons has neglected many of the most marginalized and impacted communities, her office said in a statement. What this report illustrates is that Donald Trump has neglected to use the powerful tool of clemency to benefit those who need it the most. It's not based on need. A pardon is a privilege. A pardon doesn't have a qualification of black or white. Your report means nothing because, how many did Biden? How many did Clinton? How many did Obama? They're just stuck in this constant warp of crap trying to attack Trump. Nothing is changing over and over. They're never going to be able to win because they're not trying to win. As I've said here many times, the Democrats do not want to do anything positive for America. All they want to do is cause division. Because that story should have just been, I am going to submit pardons to President Trump. I am going to try and make it so that more people are in front of his desk, whoever's in charge of the pardons. Why not do that instead of constantly trying to make this man look bad and in turn trying to make America look bad? And it just never ends with these people. Never. It's never ends. Wait a minute. SB always sends me things and my phone starts buzzing. What do you got here? SB, wait 1 second. This is unconfirmed, but Tucker Carlson claims that Trump briefed Congress yesterday on an imminent war with Venezuela, which he will speak about tonight. You know what's funny about that? I don't even need the link. I don't need the link Somebody, when I had posted about, just changing gears here because I'm done talking about the racist crap, I had posted the 17th, which is today, the 17th, we're about to hear my fellow American speech, and somebody said, oh, it's not what you think. Caroline Leavitt said this. You mean sort of like the medals ceremony was just about the medals for, the people who were doing the border? You got to understand, he's not going to tell you in advance, and she's not going to tell you in advance, even if she knows. So people are being crazy. I'm pretty sure tonight's going to be a blockbuster. I'm pretty sure from people I've talked to who themselves don't know, but they've been told, make sure you tune in. That's what I've been hearing from people. From people I have been following and talking to is don't miss it. So we'll see. Still waiting for President Trump, checking all the monitors. And at this point, he has not come out. But back to this whole racist thing. It's just all they have. It literally is the entirety of what they have. There's nothing else going on with them. They can't talk about anything that benefits Americans. It's merely a smear that detracts from Biden's corrupt Hunter pardon. And it's total hypocrisy from the left all the time. Trump's justice reform has helped thousands, not a few. The justice reform has helped thousands of Black Americans enjoy the lowest Black unemployment ever. But she won't talk about that. She won't. They're terrified, and including some people on the right, they are terrified because Black patriots are joining MAGA in droves. We see through the lies. We understand our families are doing better. Like I've said, X is not real life. My sisters live up in Connecticut. Besides the fact that they're freezing, that it's cold as hell up there, they're like, I've noticed things are better. Maybe not in certain parts of Connecticut because they try to suppress the economy, but nonetheless, it is getting better. And there's no denying it. The gas prices, you can go on gasbuddy.com, and despite where you are, you can put in all the different cities and see what gas is like in other areas. There's no denying it has fallen. It was $5 a gallon average during Biden. Now we're getting close to $1.99. How do you dispute math? It's sitting there right in front of you. And so when I look on X and I see all these people complaining and they're whining and bitching and moaning and how it's all over, it's over. It's horrible. He can't win in 2026. But what you're actually saying is you don't want him to win in 2026. Let me see if I can pull something up. I want to show you guys something that I posted earlier today. And I could not believe that this was an actual post. Could not even fathom that I was seeing something so insane. So I'm going to share it with you so you can get some of this insanity yourself. And where is it here? Let me scroll backwards a little bit. Yeah, here we go. I can only show it to you because just talking about it's not enough. What do we got? More? All right. So this one. Rich Barris, one of Mark Mitchell's compadres, posted this. Oh, did he take it down? He says that AOC is going to beat J.D. Vance. Right now is polling higher than J.D. Vance. They expect you to believe that AOC could beat J.D. Vance in a national election. And he writes, in the first year, is there any indication or the rest of the term, there will be nothing J.D. Vance can do to avoid this income. And my statement was just simply, it is amazing to me, watch these people committing harikari vocationally every single day, vomiting on themselves and putting out some complete putrid stuff. My sisters who were Democrats wouldn't vote for AOC. I don't know who these people are polling. They're not polling me. They're not polling you. Everything's racist. Everything's bad. The economy sucks. and AOC will beat J.D. Vance. But it gets better. It gets much better. Let me go to this for you. Okay, so if you've been following along, and I'm watching around to make sure President Trump doesn't walk out. This next story is something that took me a while to research because I can't believe what I'm seeing. I am seeing President Trump has turned some of these Democrats into complete fools to the point where they are protecting drug smugglers. He somehow has gotten them to the point where they're willing to protect drug smugglers. Listen to this.
These boats carry not fentanyl. I mean, they carry cocaine and these routes mostly take drugs to Europe and Western Africa. These operations are not making us more safe.
He actually just said that. It's not fentanyl. It's just cocaine. So cocaine's okay. We should bring the cocaine. Oh, but they're not coming here. They're going to other routes. They're going other places. So we should just let this cocaine just go through our waters and come to our shores. Everything's okay. What's the big deal? It's just some yayo. The Democrats are actually siding with narco terrorists over American safety. These traitors have been forever exposed. I don't know what the hell they are thinking at this point. It's crazy. And the one feed is up, so let me go ahead and take this feed. And I'm going to go quiet because this is going to be quite solemn indeed. Let me take this first feed so you guys can see it. Wait a second here. Before the caskets come off, let me bring this in. I'm going to use one feed and then I'll change over afterwards. Where are we? Let's do this. And like I said, this is going to be very quiet. There's not going to be a lot of people talking.
in the attack in the Syrian desert. This is the ritual happening live now, Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where they will honor the U.S. service members who were killed in action. John, we take this in as a country, and we honor those lives that have been lost.
Yep, and there you see Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, together with the chairman of the Air National Guard, the Air Force General, as we await the remains of three brave people, two of our soldiers who were killed in Syria, the third, an interpreter of Iraqi origin who has been living in the United States. The soldiers are Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard of Marshalltown, Iowa. He was previously deployed to Kosovo in 2020, and Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres-Tovar of Des Moines. The transfer cases containing their remains will be coming out of that C-17, which we should point out is from the West Virginia Air National Guard. And of course, the Army National Guard of West Virginia had that tragic incident, that terror attack in Washington, D.C. the day before Thanksgiving, where one brave National Guard member, Sarah Beckstrom, was shot in the head and killed. The other, Andrew Wolf, recovering from his wounds in what many people have described as a miraculous recovery at the Washington MedStar Health Center. Let's bring in our reporter panel: Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv, Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, and Rich Edson at the White House. And Trey, let's start with you because you've spent so much time in that part of the world. It was believed, and Mike Pompeo said this the other day, that we thought that we had turned a corner on ISIS, that they were being held at bay. Yet here we had a member of the Syrian forces who were working in conjunction with the American forces suddenly go rogue. Apparently he had expressed extremist views and was about to be fired from his position and opened fire at this joint meeting of Syrian and U.S. officials, killing 3 people.
Yeah, John, I spoke with a Syrian official this week who indicated the gunman had joined Syria's internal security forces just 2 months ago, and he was currently under investigation for ties to ISIS. You might remember back in 2017, the United States supported forces on the ground to defeat and destroy the Islamic State. But there have been pockets of this terrorist organization and also lone gunmen that agree with its ideology who have launched similar attacks. And so this meeting was taking place over the weekend between U.S. officials and Syrian officials when the gunman opened fire. Ultimately, partner forces returned fire, killing that gunman, but not before these 2 Iowa National Guardsmen, their interpreter, were killed, and 3 others from the National Guard were wounded. As we look at this story, though, it's important to put it in context to what it means on the ground in Syria. President Trump made very clear this week that the Syrian government of Ahmed al-Shara that took over control of Syria just a year ago had nothing to do with this shooting. He said that they have expressed support to try and stabilize the security situation on the ground in Syria, and that is why American forces are there, to ensure that ISIS doesn't rear its head again and try to spread this Islamic radical ideology across the Middle East.
Jennifer Griffin is with us now. Thank you, Trey. President Trump, Jennifer, traveled to Dover several times, as we remember, in his first term. He once described this event as the toughest thing I have to do.
I don't even want to hear Jennifer Griffith's voice because she is such a Trump-hating troll. So I'm just going to talk over her and kill the volume because it's bad enough that Fox has some of these people embedded. But, on a day like today where we're bringing home slain soldiers, maybe now's not the time to get into propaganda. Maybe just, if I had the ability here, I would play some light music as these people are being offloaded. I haven't seen President Trump and Melania yet, so I'm not sure where they are. They're not in this receiving group, so maybe that's what they're waiting for, to bring the bodies off, waiting for President Trump to arrive, unless President Trump's inside the plane. If I were going to guess, if I was a guessing person, President Trump and Melania are probably with the families, and he's probably. And I know what they do is they come past this receiving area where Pete Hegseth is, and the guys will salute and everything. Then they take the bodies over to either a waiting car or a tent or something, and then from there they will then take them to wherever they need to take them. And I'm thinking President Trump and Melania are probably meeting with the families right now. It is probably the most solemn thing. You know, you're receiving your dead loved one's body back. You remember this happened a while ago, so even though it happened, they haven't been able to bury their loved one yet. This is the first time they're seeing this person being, taken off the plane. So these are, as they're showing here, these are the pictures of the guys that are coming home.
We will see you again, son. Until then, we have it from here. Rich, Edson, this is a scene that we have seen far too many times in this nation, as a solemn ceremony as the remains of these American heroes come home for the last time.
It has, John, and also when it comes to deaths in the National Guard family, just over the last few weeks here, of course, there was the attack here in Washington, D.C., and as you had mentioned, the president has previously called this the toughest thing that he has to do. With the president today, you have the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, his Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, also with him, the former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. On the schedule for today was the First Lady, though a White House official says at the last minute the First Lady could no longer attend this solemn event. The President of the United States, as the Commander-in-Chief, there is a sense of responsibility there. There are troops stationed all over the world at the request of the Defense Department and the President of the United States, and so there very much is a sense of responsibility at the White House when you have to do these types of events. And as Jen pointed out, emotionally they can go very different ways at Dover Air Force Base, given family members. So this solemn event ongoing here now, and there are also questions on the Middle East. The fact that this is an ISIS attack and that that still remains a major challenge for the Western world and the world in the region. On top of that, also, there are questions about the government in Syria. President Ahmed al-Shara, who was here in Washington, D.C., who's been welcomed by the President of the United States, who the President said had nothing to do with this attack, was a one-time leader of an Islamic insurgent group, pushing to say that he has moved past that life and is now a legitimate president, interim president there in Syria. But there are major flashpoints and questions ongoing in that region and through these storylines as to what the future holds for Syria and the greater region.
To Trey now. Trey, if you could rejoin here, the two guardsmen killed in Syria, Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres-Tovar, 25 years old, of Des Moines, Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, 29 years old, of Marshalltown, according to the U.S. Army. Both were members of the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment. The men have been hailed heroes by the Iowa National Guard. The U.S. civilian working as an interpreter, identified as Ayad Mansour Sakat of Macomb, Michigan, was also killed. 3 other members of the Iowa National Guard were injured in that attack. The Pentagon has not identified them, but they were among hundreds of U.S. troops, as we know, Trey, deployed in eastern Syria as part of the coalition fighting the Islamic State group.
Yes, Andrew, look, these soldiers are heroes, and they are receiving a hero's welcome home. This is just such a tragic moment for their families, and the honor that they will receive right now is so important. But when we look at the American forces on the ground in the Middle East, it is far reduced than what it used to be at the height of the Islamic State when ISIS controlled cities in both Iraq and Syria. President Trump has been very clear that he wants to draw down U.S. forces in the Middle East, specifically in these two countries, despite the fact that the U.S. is continuing as a member and a leader in part of the anti-ISIS coalition. The challenging part with fighting ISIS is just how splintered the organization is. It doesn't take a specific cell. It just takes a lone gunman, one terrorist, like we saw over the weekend, to lead to the deaths of American service members or civilians in these areas. And that is part of what the Americans have been doing on the ground, not only sharing intelligence with local forces, but also acting as a training force to ensure that they can conduct these missions individually. And again, what we understand is that there was a meeting taking place when this terrorist attack took place, and this lone gunman opened fire on these brave Iowa National Guardsmen. When we look at the future of the region, this certainly will bring up ongoing conversations about U.S. troop presence in the region. Again, when we look back at recent history, back to 2016 and 2017, when the Islamic State was facing a serious ground operation from SDF forces and also that support from the American coalition on the ground, things have changed, and it is a much different Middle East. And as we have seen, the United States has the over-the-horizon capabilities to strike when necessary. And again, it raises these questions about the need and location of American forces on the ground. But again, President Trump wanted to express his condolences earlier in the week. He spoke at a Hanukkah ceremony at the White House about these brave service members, talking about their sacrifice for the country and also their efforts, again, to help in this mission to defeat and destroy ISIS. We saw just this weekend, the Islamic State around the world continues to launch attacks, not just against soldiers, but also against civilians. And it is a very important mission to ensure that they are destroyed, but it's a very difficult mission. And these soldiers, these brave Iowa National Guardsmen, lost their lives during this mission.
You know, Jen, what happened on Saturday at the so-called green on blue attack, we have seen it happen several times in the past, most notably, I guess, in Afghanistan. And again, it was thought that the threat from ISIS had been diminished somewhat. But if a local, whether it be local military or local police force, some sort of local military force personnel becomes radicalized, it's very difficult to root these out before they happen.
Well, it's very interesting that the Syrian security forces and the Syrian Ministry of Interior had actually figured out that this person who had joined the forces, the Syrian forces, just 2 months before, had been in contact with ISIS, and they were suspicious, and they had alerted him that he was under investigation and possibly being kicked out of the security forces. So that may have, in fact, triggered the attack. It's also important, John, to point out what the U.S. forces are doing on the ground in Syria, and to remind our viewers that there are still 5,000 to 7,000 ISIS fighters in Iraq and Syria, along with tens of thousands of their family members and fighters who are in 2 camps.
I don't know why they brought her on. I can't tell you why they brought this woman on, or even why they're talking about this. By the way, the guy, as you can see, that's Chris Coons, and standing behind Chris Coons with the white coat and the gray hair is Susie Wiles. So Susie Wiles is there. Chris Coons, who is a senator from Delaware, he is there. Let's see if I recognize anybody else. I don't see anybody else I recognize. Obviously, Pete Hegseth. There's Chuck Grassley in the background. Pete Hegseth, not sure who that woman is. But Susie Wiles is there. Okay, so now this is the part that kind of gets me. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just too much. But anyway, they're about to bring the bodies off. President Trump is now walking out.
The remnants of ISIS, and the U.S. would not have to be in the lead there.
Rich, we just saw the soldiers walk onto the C-17, just describing the process we are about to see. The transfer cases, we expect 3 of them to come off the C-17 aircraft. They will be draped with the American flag, holding the remains of the fallen soldiers. You're seeing President Trump there now live. They will then, the transfer cases, be carried from military aircraft to an awaiting vehicle. And we watch this solemn moment together. Rich, just to take our viewers through what we're about to see, the vehicles will then transport them to the mortuary facility at the base where the fallen service members are then prepared for their final resting place. Do share your thoughts as we await the transfer cases.
Right, and what we'll also see here, Sandra, is there will be 2 transfer teams. The first team will carry the first 2 transfer cases for the National Guardsmen. The second transfer team will carry the 3rd case because, of course, the 3rd case is the civilian who was the interpreter killed in this, Ayad Mansour of Macomb, Michigan. After a service member has been identified and prepared for return to their family, they're placed in a casket and transported to their final resting place. That all according to the pool that is traveling with the president and getting this information from the Department of Defense. As you know, we have said, this is something that President Trump has described as the toughest thing he's had to do, and he's had to do it again. You know, as Jen had said, describing the situation ongoing in Syria, in Iraq for the last decade and a half right now, it has been a hotbed of not only ISIS, but there are also Iranian forces there. There have been opposition parties to what was then the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. There are also Russian forces there. So this has been an area that has not had much control over it for some time now, since the Arab Spring back in.
Maybe you might want to be quiet right now.
As we saw the remains of Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard transferred from the C-17 to the awaiting vehicle, we now await the transfer of the remains of Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres-Tovar. We should point out for folks at home that we cannot broadcast audio. We can also not show pictures of the families. So that's why when we observe the transfer case being brought out of the back of the C-17, while you're hearing complete silence, and that's why we do not follow the transfer case all the way to the awaiting vehicle, because that's, I assume, where the family is staged. As we await the transfer of the second set of remains, as the transfer group from the Iowa National Guard go back into the belly of the C-17 to retrieve the remains. Let's bring in Mike Saray, retired Navy SEAL and host of Unsung Arlington on Fox Nation. Mike, your thoughts as we watch this dignified transfer?
Well, John, you keep using the word solemn, and it couldn't be more accurate. You know, Dover is known as the place where our heroes come home. And these dignified transfers are relatively modern. The official term came into use in the 80s and 90s. And as you mentioned, media can't show the family, but the media was restricted until 2009. That lift was banned by President Obama, and for good reason. This is our way of keeping the faith and honoring those Americans' service and sacrifice and letting our country watch. It's also a reminder, and this is a big one, that service doesn't end with anonymity. These soldiers, these warriors, these great Americans had names.
Mike, we understand that the latest transfer case taken from the C-17 was Sergeant Edgar Torres-Tovar, 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Brigade Combat Team, 34th Infantry Division of the Iowa National Guard, Boone, Iowa. His hometown, Des Moines, Iowa, Mike.
Yes. And, you know, you can only imagine the weight, and I think you can see it in President Trump's face as well as the Secretary of War. is their opportunity to look in the family and take accountability, because this happened under their watch.
Oh God, shut up. Accountability.
Ceremony is solemn
Every
indeed.
chance they get,
And
they're going to take a poke at President Trump. Man, unbelievable. You can't get a day without the media just finding any reason to do that. I leave the volume on in between because I just like want to know if they named the person's name or something, but crazy.
Our focus now is providing unwavering support to their families through this unimaginable time and ensuring the legacy of these two heroes is never forgotten. You see the Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds there between the President and the Secretary of War. Kim Reynolds said the following: Sergeant Howard and Sergeant Torres-Tovar served our state and nation with honor, and in doing so gave the ultimate sacrifice. We are grateful for their service and deeply mourn their loss. We should say that this is a significant loss for the Iowa National Guard. The last time three tours of duty in Iraq as a journalist, of course. And everywhere we went, whether it was with the 172nd Stryker Brigade or with the 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion or elements of the 4th ID, everywhere we went, there was an Iraqi interpreter who was definitely risking life and limb to aid the U.S. military. So hats off to all of them who gave such yeoman duty in the face of danger and in the face of so many odds against them at that time.
Okay, let's bring Jennifer Griffin back in, our chief national security correspondent, as we saw.
How about we don't? How about we don't bring Jennifer Griffin back in? I'm going to keep it on the feed right now, just in case President Trump does make some words or give some remarks as he's leaving, or whatever they're planning on doing next. Obviously, Pete Hegseth is there as well. I'll leave that on. I was going to do a whole bunch of more news, but I don't think this is the time. I understand Ashley texted me and said there was a Gold Star mom that's in the chat. And so I think what I'm going to do is probably save. I'll go on a little bit earlier tonight. Instead of like 8:30, I'll go on at 8. I've got some news I can bring to you. There is some breaking news that I did want to tell you about in a second. So let me just see how long they leave the feed up. But I don't want to continue and disrespect these soldiers that have just come back. It just isn't. I can't get my feelings into the news the way I want to because of what we're watching right now. So I think just understanding this moment, that it's right before Christmas, and imagine what these families are going through. I can't imagine what they're going through. Volume? What volume? You can't hear me? Hold on. You should be able to hear me. Hold on. Let me just check. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Yeah, I'm on. I don't know what you mean, but anyway, excuse me. Let me. I'll keep this going so I can see if something does pop up. If they move this van with the, is this the van? No, this isn't the van with the body. So I'm not sure if they move this van. The smaller Air Force plane back there is not President Trump's. His is a bigger plane. So we shall see. All right. So anyway, I'm going to keep the feed up, and I'll keep monitoring it in case President Trump does actually say something. I can come back on, but in the interim, I do want to show you some breaking news, good breaking news, that, excuse me, that came up. And that good breaking news that we have is this. Hold on, let me move the comment so you guys can actually see it for yourselves. This is a big breaking news. All right, so you can see it. Breaking, the appellate court sides with President Trump and says he is allowed to bring the National Guard into Washington, D.C. Duh. Another L for the activist district court judges. This BS doesn't end until the impeachment start. I don't know about impeachments, but I think there's going to be a whole lot more going on. I think we're going to see the beginning of some of this stuff happening tonight when President Trump speaks. I don't know if, like what Tucker Carlson said, if he has heard from somebody that something is about to happen. I can't speculate to that, but I can tell you that I've been told bring popcorn tonight's going to be absolutely huge. So I'm going to go on at 8. I've got a whole bunch of news that I was planning on talking about today, but I don't want to do that right now. So let me just continue with this. Let me go ahead and look at the super chats, and so we can get ready for tonight. Yep, they just cut the feed, so it's over. So we may have some words from him today. I mean, later today, if they do something on Air Force One on his way home, or he may just decide, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to say it all tonight, which I would think would be absolutely huge. All right, so let me go here. Make that a little bit smaller. Okay. Pekovsky, you're amazing. Pekovsky is here all the time. The miseducation was a plan by others, I think. Absolutely. Hard to argue when you are right, Barry. It's not like I'm trying to be right. I think what Pekovsky is talking about when I was talking about the financial literacy stuff is that it's upon us to teach our kids. Don't expect your teachers to do it. They're not going to do it. Probably most of them don't know it. And they don't want to see your kids become very successful. So no, you got to teach your kids. I think Crosby, Stills, and Nash did a song about that. Rick Williams, why did Trump pardon drug dealing Nicaragua president because he knew exactly how Venezuela worked the drug pipeline and told Trump it all quid pro quo. I see, Rick, I was going to say something, but I had to read the entirety of what you wrote. And then when I saw exactly what you wrote, then you answered your own question. The guy probably tweeted like a bird. SD Gold Star Mom. There's the lady I was talking about. As one who has stood on that tarmac, oh, God bless you. POTUS is probably inside the family building. This was beforehand. There will be vans the caskets are transferred to. Prayers for the new Gold Star families from one who knows. Oh, God bless you. I can't even imagine how that must feel. Thank you for your comment. Karen, remains. These people are our brothers and have names. They're not just remains. Exactly. They're the bodies of loved ones, somebody's loved ones. And Mariah, may those who sacrifice now rest in peace with our Lord. God bless them and their families as well. I completely agree. So I'm going to sign off now and get ready for what is arguably going to be a big evening tonight. I think we're going to see a something that's going to shock the world. That's how I'm going to put it. I think we're going to see the world shocked tonight. Can't wait. Cannot wait. I'm going to eat dinner early, and I may go on at 7:30. I don't know. That's how excited I am to hear what he says tonight. I think it's going to be huge. I had one late super chat. Let me show it to you because where is it here? For the Bible is in honor of servicemen and families. Very nice of you. Very nice of you. Thank you. All right, ladies, gentlemen, kids, we'll see you tonight at about 8 o'clock. I'll be posting it. Actually, it's already posted. Wait a minute. SV's hitting me up with something. Okay, he was just talking about that last super chat. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Like I said, I just don't want to just go behind that. I just think I would honor them best by, letting us all think about them, and we'll do the news tonight. Thank you.
To certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in a fields where they lay, keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart preparing room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart preparing room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.